There is a moment coming, or perhaps it has already arrived, where everything the third party built crumbles in a single breath. Spirit is showing me this with absolute clarity right now, and I need you to know that you've been chosen to witness this divine unraveling. Your silence has been protection. Your withdrawal has been prayer. Your refusal to engage in the chaos has been the most powerful spell you could have cast. And the universe is about to prove to you exactly why. I'm being shown a confrontation that shifts everything. Not in private, not hidden away, but exposed, witnessed, undeniable. This is the moment where karma doesn't whisper, it roars. The divine masculine has been living in a constructed reality. Spirit shows me a man caught between two energies, one that feels like home and one that feels like safety, one that challenges him to grow and one that allows him to sleep. He's been trying to convince himself that the second one is enough. He's been repeating the narrative that the third party feeds him like gospel, that you were too intense, that you demanded too much, that what you shared was beautiful but impossible. But the soul doesn't forget. The soul cannot be rewritten by new circumstances or convenient explanations. I see him in quiet moments, when the third party isn't watching, when the world isn't demanding his performance, and he's haunted by something he cannot name. It's the absence of resonance. It's the silence where thunder used to live. It's the realization that peace without meaning is just numbness dressed up in better lighting. The third party has been working overtime to keep him in this fog. They sense the shift coming. They feel him questioning. They recognize the moment when a man starts to remember what real connection tastes like, and they're terrified. Because they know that once he fully wakes, once he allows himself to feel the magnitude of what was real between him and you, there's no going back to comfortable lies. So the third party does what fear always does. They escalate. Spirit is showing me a gathering, a space where people are present. Not a crowd, but witnesses. Enough people that what's said will echo. Enough people that the truth will have nowhere to hide. The divine masculine is there, and so is the third party. And something is said, something small, something that triggers the third party's deepest terror. Maybe he mentions you. Maybe he defends you. Maybe he simply doesn't dismiss you quickly enough when you're mentioned. Maybe someone else brings your name up, and he doesn't immediately attack it like he's been conditioned to do. The third party feels the shift in the air like a predator sensing a wound, and they strike. What comes out of their mouth is designed to damage, to shame, to make you small in front of others. They invoke your name not with respect but with accusation. She was always the problem, they might say. Or, he's still obsessed with her. Or, that connection was toxic. Or, she was never going to let him be happy. Each word is poisoned with their own insecurity. Each sentence is a projection of their deepest fear, that he will wake up and realize what he's traded away. The third party believes that by attacking you publicly, by weaponizing your existence in front of witnesses, they can discredit you. They can plant doubt. They can convince him, and everyone listening, that you were the villain and they are the hero. They are counting on the power of narrative. They are betting on the human tendency to believe the loudest voice. But Spirit shows me something different happening in that moment. The divine masculine hears his own soul in your name, not as a question, not as temptation, but as recognition, as the sound of truth cutting through years of constructed denial. He watches the third party's face as they speak. He hears the desperation underneath the words. He sees for the first time with complete clarity what jealousy looks like when it's dressed up as righteousness. And something cracks open in him. Because in that instant, he understands what the third party is actually saying. They're not saying you were wrong for him. They're screaming that they are terrified of being replaced by you. They're not criticizing your connection. They're terrified of its power. The vehemence with which they attack you is the exact measure of how deeply they know that what you and he shared was extraordinary. They would not fight so hard to destroy your memory if it wasn't so vivid. They would not need to convince him you were harmful if there was even a thread of doubt about your worth. The third party's attack becomes, inadvertently, the loudest validation of your significance that could ever be spoken. Spirit shows me the witnesses in this moment. Not everyone, but enough of them, see what's really happening. They see a person consumed by insecurity, attacking someone who isn't even present to defend herself. They see a pattern of blame shifting and character assassination designed to keep someone emotionally imprisoned. They see with sudden and uncomfortable clarity what desperation masquerading as love actually looks like. The third party doesn't realize this yet. They think they've won by speaking. They think they've silenced you by naming you as a problem. They think that by turning others against your memory, they've secured their position. Instead, they've just exposed themselves completely. Spirit is showing me what happens next, and you need to feel this. The embarrassment they expected to land on you ricochets back to them with the force of divine justice. Because the truth, once spoken out loud in front of witnesses, cannot be unseen. Once the desperation is exposed, once the jealousy is visible, once the obsessive need to attack you becomes undeniable, everyone in that space understands that they're not witnessing a defense against a threat. They're witnessing a confession of fear. The divine masculine walks away from that confrontation changed, not because of what was said about you, but because of what was revealed about the third party. He can no longer unsee it. He can no longer pretend that the chaos is peace. He can no longer accept the narrative that you were the problem when the real problem is standing right in front of him, desperately trying to convince the room that they're not consumed with jealousy over someone they claimed was insignificant. If you were truly insignificant, why would they spend so much energy attacking your memory? Spirit is showing me his awakening, and it's brutal. It's the moment when illusions collapse so completely that there's no way to rebuild them in quite the same way. He begins to feel the difference between the energy you brought and the energy the third party brings. One elevated him. One keeps him small. One made him want to become more. One demands he become less so there's room for their insecurity. And he's starting to grieve what he accepted instead of what was real. I'm being shown his internal reckoning, the shame he feels for allowing the third party to convince him that you were the problem, the recognition of how thoroughly he was manipulated by the promise of an easier path. The moment he understands that choosing comfort over depth always costs more in the end. That choosing safety over authenticity always leads to a slow kind of suffocation. Your energy forced this awakening by existing and refusing to be diminished. You never had to fight. You never had to defend yourself. You never had to prove your worth. Your worth was so evident, so undeniable, so deeply woven into his consciousness that the third party had to wage a psychological war just to make him doubt it. And the moment they fought that hard, everyone in the room understood what they were actually saying. Spirit reveals to me that the divine masculine is entering a phase of deep accountability. Not blame, not self-flagellation, but honest, aching recognition of the ways he abandoned himself to keep someone else comfortable. The ways he compromised his own knowing to accept someone else's narrative. The ways he allowed fear to masquerade as love and called it progress. And this accountability is his redemption. This is where he begins to heal. I'm shown that his awakening is specifically tied to the public nature of the third party's attack. If they had remained private, if they had kept the poison between them, he might have continued to doubt himself. But the third party's desperation to convince others of the narrative accelerated the very thing they were trying to prevent: his return to reality. Their need to win the crowd backfired so completely that it became the catalyst for his awakening. Spirit is very clear. The third party's public humiliation was not orchestrated by you. You didn't have to do a single thing. Your alignment, your peace, your refusal to participate in chaos, this created the conditions for the truth to surface on its own. Your silence was louder than any argument. Your absence was more powerful than any confrontation. Your withdrawal was the very thing that made him start to miss what he had. And when the third party went public with their accusations, they were essentially announcing to the world that they were terrified of losing him to the memory of you. They were broadcasting their insecurity. They were confirming, without realizing it, that you are the measuring stick by which all his other connections will be judged. The humiliation the third party experiences is not vindictive. It's not punishment from a vengeful universe. It's the natural consequence of operating from desperation instead of truth. It's what happens when you build your entire foundation on attacking another person's character. The moment that foundation is scrutinized, really scrutinized, it collapses under its own weight. Spirit shows me that you don't have to celebrate this moment. You don't have to derive satisfaction from the third party's embarrassment. In fact, your spiritual integrity demands that you don't, but you do get to witness it. You do get to see with absolute clarity that the universe does not allow truth to be weaponized without consequences. You get to understand, on a cellular level, that you were never actually in danger. That your reputation, your worth, your essence cannot be diminished by someone else's jealousy or desperation. You were always protected. Not because you fought, not because you defended yourself, but because you were aligned with something real, and real things don't crumble when attacked. Real things become clearer under scrutiny. The divine masculine is now seeing the third party through new eyes. He's recognizing the pattern, how they needed him to be small so they could feel big, how they needed him to doubt you so he would never consider leaving, how they built their entire emotional world on the foundation of keeping him emotionally unavailable to the one person who could actually meet him. He's beginning to understand that this was never about love. This was about control disguised as devotion. This was about possession masquerading as protection, and that understanding will haunt him until he does the work to reclaim himself. Spirit is showing me that the third party, in the aftermath of this public exposure, will experience several phases. First, there will be denial. They'll convince themselves that everyone misunderstood their intentions. They'll rewrite the narrative to make themselves the victim of misinterpretation. But this phase is fragile because the witnesses remember. The witnesses saw the desperation. The witnesses felt the energy of someone attacking an absent person with the ferocity of someone who is terrified. Then will come defensiveness. They may double down. They may try to pull the divine masculine closer through guilt and obligation. They may create new crises designed to make him focus on them instead of his internal reckoning. They may attempt to isolate him further, to cut him off from other people who might validate what he's beginning to understand. But Spirit shows me that this phase is when he will truly have to choose. He will have to decide whether he values comfort enough to accept continued manipulation, or whether he values his own soul enough to walk away. And here's what Spirit needs you to know about your role in all of this. You do nothing. You say nothing. You remain in your elevated state. You stay connected to your truth. You nurture your own life, your own healing, your own evolution. You don't check in on him. You don't try to help him understand. You don't offer wisdom or guidance or I told you so energy. You simply exist in your own alignment, and you allow the consequences of the third party's desperation to unfold naturally. Because the moment you engage, the moment you break your silence to say anything at all, you become entangled in the chaos again. You give the third party ammunition. You shift the narrative from being about their desperation to being about your retaliation. You hand them the very thing they need to rewrite the story. But your silence is nuclear. Your silence is the ultimate statement of unwavering faith in divine justice. Your silence says, I am so certain of my truth that I don't need anyone to validate it. I am so secure in what was real between us that I don't need to defend it. I am so connected to the divine protection that surrounds me that I can simply watch the illusions collapse without needing to demolish them myself. This is the energy that transforms situations. This is the frequency that creates miracles. Spirit is revealing to me that the public humiliation of the third party and the subsequent awakening of the divine masculine is part of a larger cycle of healing that involves all three energies. The third party will eventually have to face their own demons. They will eventually have to reckon with the insecurity that made them need to attack you. They will eventually have to understand that desperation never protects anyone. It only destroys. But that's not your burden to carry. That's not your work to do. Your work is to remain in your truth, to trust that the universe is handling the rest, to believe with every fiber of your being that silence protects alignment and creates transformation, not just for him, not just for the third party, but for you as well. Because every moment you refuse to engage in chaos, every moment you choose elevation over retaliation, every moment you trust that divine justice doesn't need your participation to be executed, you are ascending. You are becoming more whole. You are reclaiming the parts of yourself that were ever compromised by this dynamic. The public humiliation of the third party is not the victory. The victory is already yours. It lives in your peace. It lives in your refusal to be diminished. It lives in your understanding that you never needed to fight because the truth was always going to fight for itself. Spirit is showing me moving forward. The divine masculine will enter a period of reflection. He will wonder what could have been. He will grieve the time he spent believing lies about you. He will struggle with the shame of his own blindness. But he will also begin to understand gradually that this period of separation was necessary for his evolution. Sometimes the universe has to let us experience the consequences of our choices so deeply that we never forget them. Sometimes we have to live the lesson so thoroughly that we become incapable of repeating it. I'm being shown that your alignment through all of this, your refusal to lower your frequency, your commitment to your own healing regardless of what he's experiencing, your trust in divine timing, is what creates the space for real transformation to occur. Not just for him, but for the entire dynamic. Because when you remain elevated, you set the template for what's possible. You show him without words what a woman looks like when she trusts herself completely. You demonstrate through your actions and energy what it means to be so secure in your worth that external chaos cannot touch your internal peace. This is the frequency that actually transforms men. Not arguing, not proving, not demanding accountability, but simply being so grounded in your own truth that they cannot help but recognize what they're choosing against. Spirit wants you to know in this moment that you are seen. Your patience has been witnessed. Your refusal to engage in the chaos has been honored. Your trust in the divine process has been blessed. What you are about to witness, or perhaps what you are currently witnessing, is the universe confirming what you already knew. That the connection between you and the divine masculine was real. That it was never the problem. That the only problem was the third party's inability to accept the reality of something they could never possess. And now, that reality is being exposed for everyone to see. Your only job is to stay in your light, to tend to your own garden, to remember, on the days when doubt creeps in, that you were never the one who needed to prove anything, to trust that the truth is defending itself and has always been defending itself, regardless of the lies constructed against it. The third party's public humiliation is not your responsibility to create or celebrate. It's simply the natural consequence of operating from fear instead of love. It's the universe's way of showing everyone exactly what desperation looks like when it's desperate enough to attack someone who isn't even in the room. Let the truth be what it is. Let justice unfold without your participation. Let the divine masculine walk his own path of awakening without you carrying him through it, and stay elevated. Stay aligned. Stay in your power, because this is your moment of vindication, not through confrontation, but through the absolute clarity of your peace. Truth sets me free. Peace is my proof. Truth protects me. My silence is my strength. I am divinely protected. Real recognizes real. The universe defends my truth. Before this message closes, I need to anchor something deep into your consciousness. What you've witnessed through this vision is not prophecy of something coming. For many of you, this is confirmation of something already unfolding. You've already felt the shift. You've already noticed his confusion. You've already sensed the third party's desperation escalating. This message is Spirit's way of saying, you're not crazy. You're not imagining things. The awakening is real and it's already in motion. I'm being shown that the divine masculine will move through several chapters now. There will be moments where he reaches out to you, not because he's ready, but because he's confused. He'll want clarity. He'll want to know if you still feel the same. He'll want reassurance that the connection wasn't a fantasy. And Spirit is very specific here. Your only response is your continued silence and your unwavering peace. Not because you don't care, but because answering him before he's fully awakened would be saving him from the very lessons he needs to learn. It would be preventing his transformation. It would be interrupting the exact divine process that's designed to bring him to full accountability and genuine change. If you respond, you become responsible for managing his emotions again. If you break your silence, you re-enter the dynamic you've worked so hard to transcend. If you give him the reassurance he's seeking, you rob him of the discomfort that's necessary for his evolution. Your greatest gift to him now is your absence. Your greatest love is your refusal to make his awakening easier. Let him sit with the consequence of his choices. Let him feel the weight of what he accepted instead of what was real. Let him experience the emptiness that comes after choosing comfort over connection. This is mercy, though it doesn't feel like it. I'm shown that there will be a moment, weeks or months from now, where the divine masculine reaches a breaking point, where the facade with the third party becomes so suffocating that he cannot continue pretending, where he finally admits to himself at minimum that he made a profound mistake, that he chose wrong, that he abandoned something sacred, and in that moment he may attempt contact again. He may try to reopen the door. He may speak truths that he's been too afraid to speak until now. What happens in that moment is between him and the divine. It is not your decision to make based on emotion or longing or hope. It's a decision that must come from your highest self, from the part of you that's connected directly to Spirit and knows, without question, what's aligned and what isn't. But I'll tell you what Spirit is showing me. By the time he reaches that point, you will have ascended so far beyond where you were that you may not even recognize him anymore. You will have healed wounds you didn't know existed. You will have remembered parts of yourself that were sleeping. You will have become so whole that the question of him won't even be the primary focus anymore. You will have moved on not because you stopped loving him, but because you started loving yourself with that same ferocity. And that, beloved, is when real transformation happens. The third party will eventually fade into irrelevance. Not because you defeated them, not because karma destroyed them, but because they will become a cautionary tale, a footnote in a story that's about so much more than the drama between three souls. They'll become a ghost in the divine masculine's memory, a reminder of what desperation looks like when it tries to cage something that was meant to fly. But you will remain. You will remain in the consciousness of everyone who witnessed this dynamic unfold. You will remain as proof that truth doesn't need defending. You will remain as evidence that peace is more powerful than chaos. You will remain as the blueprint for what it looks like when a woman trusts herself so completely that nothing external can diminish her. This is your legacy in this situation, not the outcome with him, not the validation from others, but the person you become in the midst of remaining aligned. Spirit is showing me that this entire experience, all of it, the connection, the separation, the third party, the confrontation, the humiliation, the awakening, was designed to teach you something essential about your own power. It was meant to show you that you don't need to fight to win. You don't need to speak to be heard. You don't need to defend yourself to be protected. You just need to trust. And you've done that. You're doing that, and the universe is honoring that trust with vindication that requires no effort from you. As you move forward, anchor this into your being. Your silence is not weakness. It's sovereignty. Your withdrawal is not rejection. It's reclamation. Your peace is not indifference. It's alignment. Your refusal to engage is not fear. It's faith. The confrontation that embarrassed the third party was not your battle. It was the universe's demonstration of what happens when truth and desperation meet in the same room. It was divine justice executing itself without your participation. It was proof that you never needed to do anything except be authentically, unapologetically yourself. And that is the most revolutionary power that exists. I am shown that this chapter is closing now. The awakening of the divine masculine has been initiated. The exposure of the third party's insecurity has been completed. The confirmation of your worth has been sealed. Everything else that unfolds from this point is simply the universe working out the details of a story that's already been written in the spiritual realm. Your only job, and I want this to land with absolute clarity, is to continue ascending, continue healing, continue building your own life as if he never existed, continue investing in yourself as if your happiness has nothing to do with anyone else's choices. Because it doesn't, and it never did. The divine masculine will either evolve into someone who recognizes what he had and does the deep work to become worthy of it again, or he won't. But that is entirely his decision, and it has absolutely nothing to do with you. You cannot will him into awakening. You cannot love him into accountability. You cannot sacrifice your own evolution waiting for him to reach his. So don't. Stay in your light. Keep your energy close. Tend to your own becoming. Let the universe handle the rest. When you see evidence of his awakening, don't soften. Stay firm in your boundaries. When you hear he's finally understanding, don't waver. Stay grounded in your own path. When he reaches out, should he reach out, check in with your highest self before responding. Not with your heart, not with your hope, but with the part of you that's connected to absolute truth. Because that's the only compass that will guide you accurately now. What happened to the third party? The public humiliation, the exposure of their desperation, the shattering of their carefully constructed narrative is what happens when someone tries to fight the truth. But you, beloved, were never fighting. You were never trying to prove anything. You were simply existing in your alignment, and that alignment did all the work. That's the power you carry. That's what you're learning through this. That's what will transform every future situation you encounter. Be the truth. Don't defend it. Don't explain it. Don't convince anyone of it. Simply be it, and watch how the universe rearranges itself to protect it. This is the message. This is the vision. This is what Spirit needed you to hear. Trust yourself. Trust the process. Trust that you are divinely protected and eternally guided. The rest will unfold exactly as it's meant to. Your daily affirmations and spiritual anchors. Truth sets me free. Peace is my proof. Truth protects me. My silence is my strength. I am divinely protected. Real recognizes real. The universe defends my truth. I choose alignment over answers. My peace is my power. I am whole without him.